Okay, today we are in John the 14th chapter. We've been there for a couple of weeks now because this is a very important chapter. It is really transferring the life of Jesus from one realm to another. Up to chapter 13 and including chapter 13, we have the life of Christ and Him teaching His disciples. In chapter 13, He goes in on the last night of His life. And He has the Passover supper. And during this Passover supper, He teaches them various lessons. We've studied those lessons. We're not going to go back and repeat them today. But He taught them various lessons about humility and told them that somebody would betray Him, and on He went. And then He's getting ready to leave and go out to the Garden of Eden. Now, right at the end of the supper, right down at the end of it, Jesus teaches them some more things. He gets real intense, and He gets real dramatic, and He's going to drive a point home. And this point that He's going to drive home is, I am divine. Trust me, I am divine. I am divine just like my Father is divine. And I am getting ready to go back to my Father. But I want you to understand, I'm going to leave you, and you will be here without me. And of course, this was disheartening. Their plans were falling apart. And He said, but I want you to know it's much better for you if I go back, because I'm going to do something for you that really, well, it's going to be a life changer. Now, He tells them this in chapter 14. He talks some more in 15. He tells them some more about this life-changing situation in 16. Then in 17, He has a rather long prayer to His Father, asking God to guide Him and to glorify Him and so forth. And then in 18, He'll go down, cross the brook, up to the Garden of Gethsemane, and be betrayed. But in this chapter, 14, 15, 16, 17, we have here what He's telling them at the very end of this Passover meal. So, let's take a look at it. In chapter 14, He started out, let not your heart be troubled. We went through this chart last week. We'll not belabor it today. But let us keep in mind the reason that He's telling them, let not your heart be troubled. And that really is the theme of chapter 14. Don't be upset. Don't be troubled. Why would He tell them that? Well, they've just heard Him say, one of you is going to betray me. Peter, you will deny me. All of you will be offended in me and run away. I'm going to be leaving you, and where I go, you can't follow. You will be wanderers here, and you're going to be persecuted. Now, if you got that message, how would you feel? As you look at this, their dreams are collapsing. Remember, up to this time, they were looking at Jesus as this great Messiah. He's coming now, and He is the Old Testament Messiah, which means the King of the Jews. In their mind, that means He will come back. He'll gather Israel together under His kingship. He will conquer Rome. He will free the Jews. Everything will be peaceful. And these 12 disciples will be in the king's cabinet. Life is going to be great. They have been arguing about this. Who gets to be on the right and who gets to be on the left? Life is going to be great. Now, all of a sudden, this last night, Jesus has given them information which just absolutely collapsed them. So chapter 14, he starts out, and he'll say it again. Let not your heart be troubled. Now think about that. I think all of us have probably had some real bad days in our life. And somebody has come along and said, look, cheer up. It really is not that bad. Well, we know it is. I mean, I lost my job. I'm out of money. Things are collapsing around me. My house is going to be foreclosed on. And somebody says, cheer up. Things are really not that bad. That is actually what Jesus is doing here. So, he tells them, let not your heart be troubled. Then he gives them the reason. He said, now the reason is, I am the way, the truth, and the life. We talked about it. We'll not belabor it. But think about it. Here's the reason you shouldn't be despondent. You thought that we were going to set up a great kingdom, and you would be in the king's cabinet. But I want to tell you why you shouldn't be despondent. I am the way, the life, and the truth. Now, what does that mean? So they listen. Now then, Jesus dropped another bomb in the conversation. He went ahead to tell them, he said, if you had known me, you would have known my Father also. And then he explains to them, he who has seen me has seen the Father. So I want to tell you guys something. You're wondering what God looks like. You're wondering what the Father looks like. You're wanting me to show you the Father. Let me tell you, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. In other words, the Father and I are exactly alike. We think alike. We act alike. We have the same desires. We do the same kind of works. We're just alike. So if you see me and know me, that's what the Father is like. So now they've got this to chew on. And now then he gives them some thought-provoking things. And this really is where our class starts today. He said, most assuredly I say to you. Now listen. He's talking to these, at this time, 11 apostles. Remember, Judas has got up to go out to betray him. So he's talking to them. And he's trying to tell them life is going to get better. Let not your heart be troubled. It looks, from your viewpoint, it looks like your world has totally collapsed. But I assure you, here, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do also. And greater works than these he will do, because I go to my Father. Now, imagine yourself sitting there. Does that give you any comfort? What are you thinking right now? I bet I know questions on your mind. What did Jesus mean when he said, greater works than these will he do? I wonder what he meant when he said, you guys cheer up, because you're going to do all the works that I've done, and greater works than I've done you're going to do. I bet that's what's on your mind. That's what hits my mind every time I read this. How could anybody do greater works than what Jesus had done? He had walked on water. He had raised the dead. He had healed the sick. He had gone into town and healed all in certain villages in there. How could anybody do greater works than what Jesus had done? So here sits these 11 despondent men. Their world has collapsed because everything they thought was going to happen has been pulled out from under their feet tonight. Then Jesus tells them, don't be troubled. because you're going to do greater works than these. What do you mean? Well, when he says the works that I do, he will also do, obviously he's talking about miracles. All of these different miracles, and he's told them, he's telling them now. Now here for the past 3 years, you've been following me and you've been watching me. I've walked on water, I've raised the dead, I've done this and I've done that. And you've been watching all of this, but now all of these things you're getting ready to do yourself. In other words, you're getting ready to do all of these miracles that I have been doing the past 3 years. And greater works than these will you do. Now, at this point, these men could not have possibly understood what that meant. There's no way on this earth that those 11 men could have said, oh, I understand. Yeah, it's clear as a bell. Sure, Lord, here's what you mean. Couldn't possibly have done that. And yet all of us in this room today can explain it. And we know what it meant. Because it happened. They did it. It's written in the Bible. We read it. So anything that I can look at and read, I can explain to you. How did the World War II end up? Well, you go back, and when the Japanese attacked at Pearl Harbor, you ask anybody, how will this end? They had no idea. All of Americans looked around, and they said, we've got this going on in Germany, over in Europe. Now the Japanese have attacked us. We've got just a little bit of an army. We don't have any airplanes. We don't have any warships. We don't have anything. How will things turn out? Nobody knew. Nobody knew. But I can tell you, and you can tell them, we know today because we have history behind us. And we can say, here's what happened. That's what I'm going to do this day. Here's what they did greater than Jesus. They didn't know it, but Jesus is doing all of this preparation. He has prepared these people to bring them up. They are totally lost at this time. They're nervous wrecks, and they're going to get worse, by the way. When they go out into the garden, they're all going to turn and flee, run away, go watch him be put to death, deny him, come back, lonely, give up, go back to fishing. What will happen to us? And he's going to be raised from the dead, bring them back again, and then he's going to tell them, now here's what I want you to do. You men who have dreamed of a great kingdom with me as the king and you in the cabinet, it's going to be greater than that. Here's what is going to happen. Now, we know what happened. He said, you wait here in Jerusalem until you receive the Holy Spirit. Then you're going to be my witnesses here in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the uttermost parts of the earth. You're going to go out and you're going to do a lot more than I have done. I have preached to Israel, in Israel, this one little country. But you guys are going to go out and you're going to preach to every creature under heaven. And you stay right here. Holy Spirit will come. Well, you and I know what happened. They stayed in Jerusalem. On the day of Pentecost, Holy Spirit came down upon them, inspired them. And here all of these people in the world is gathered together. And they began to speak with other tongues. They began to perform miracles. They began to speak in 70 different languages all at one time. And And Peter got up and he preached, and all of a sudden 3,000 people were baptized in one day. A few days after, 5,000 more. A few days after, multitudes upon multitudes. They're converting people by the thousands. They're converting people that so many times more than Jesus converted, that's not even comparable. That's what he's talking about. You're going to do works greater than I have done. Jesus had converted, pulled them in, and when he died, he had a few hundred. Remember, they'd all turned around and walked away from him right down at the end. But he had a few hundred. And now then on the first day, they're going to convert 3,000. So he's telling them this. They don't understand it yet. Now I said, the reason that you will be able to do greater works than I have done is because I go to the Father. If I stay here, you wouldn't be able to do this. The only reason you will be able to go out and have all these conversions is because I'm going to go back to the Father and leave you here with the Holy Spirit. That's the reason you'll be able to do it. And he said, now when I go back, you ask whatever you want to ask in my name, and that will I do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it. So I'll still be with you. You'll still have contact with me. When I go back, I will go back having died on the cross, shed my blood, make access to people so they can have their sins washed away, so that 3,000 of them can become Christians on the first day. I'll do all of that. And then you'll be able to preach and convert all of these people. And you, whatever you ask in my name, I'll do it. That means by my authority. Don't ask things without my authority. Don't go around me to the Father and try to ask things that I do not approve of. Go to the Father by my authority in my name, asking him that which is acceptable to me. And when you do that, I'll be with you. So I'll be with you even though I won't be here, even though I'll be in heaven. Now then, he begins to comfort them. He's going to give them some comfort because they're going to be here alone. And I keep wanting us to go back and try to feel their feelings this night. How they are feeling as they have now learned he's going away. We can't go with him. And we will deny him. We will run away from him. We will be wandering around. We will... And here is a despondent group of people. He said, now here's another thing I want you to understand. If you love me, keep my commandments. That really is the way we can tell whether we love God or not, or Jesus Christ. And that is, if we keep his commandments. Love is an attitude that you have whereby you always do what is the best for whatever you love. If you love your wife, you'll always act in her best interest. If you love your car, you'll always act in its best interest. You can tell whether people love things by seeing how they treat things. Sometimes you go to somebody's house and you see the way they treat their cat or their dog. And you say, boy, they love them. Now, you say, how do you know they love them? Well, by the way they treat them. You can tell by the way they do it. So he said, now, this is what you do. Now, I said, here's what I'm going to do for you. I will pray to the Father. I'm going to ask God to do something for you. and he will give you another helper, that he may abide with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you know him, for he dwells with you and will be with you. I will not leave you orphans. I will come to you. Now here's something that we need to talk about, because this is a big statement. Jesus again is going to talk about this in the same chapter. But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, in the 15th chapter. But when the Helper comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth. 16. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth, it is to your advantage that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Helper will not come to you. But if I depart, I will send him to you. Now, this is a new thing. What does he mean, this Helper? He said, I mean the Holy Spirit. And then he says down there in 16, we'll get to that later, but he said, I want you to understand that if I didn't go away, you wouldn't be able to get the Holy Spirit. And so it's to your advantage. This is another thing, kind of. You mean, this must be what Peter thought. You're here with me, and you've been with me for the past 3 years, and you've taken care of me, and you mean to tell me it's better for me if you go away and another helper comes, that will be better than having you here? Incomprehensible. But he said, yep, that's it. That's what I'm telling you. Well, we say, what do you mean, another helper? Here it is. If anyone love me, keep my commandments. I will pray the Father, and he will give you another. Now that word another, in the Greek you have two words translated another. One is another of the same kind. And another word is another of a different kind. That's where we get the word homosexual, the sex of the same kind. Hetero, that's another of a different kind of sex. You have these two words. This is another, the same kind. Now, I'm going to send you the same kind of a helper as I am, is what he's saying. So you're going to get the same kind of a helper. Now we ask ourselves, helper. What does that word mean? Well, we all know what a helper is. If I tell you I have a helper, if you go out and get a new job and send you out, what do you want to do? I want you to go out with this guy and help him. You just go out and you do whatever he wants done. You go out and you help him. Now we're going to get a helper. That's a pretty big word. I want to talk just a little bit about it. When you read sometimes in commentaries, they'll say the word is paraclete. And a lot of times you'll hear preachers and they'll preach and then they'll keep coming back. Now here's your paraclete. Here's your paraclete. Nobody has any idea, those of us who speak English, what a paraclete is. That's a Greek word. That means absolutely nothing whatsoever to us. So what does that word really mean? Now the only reason they say that is it comes from two Greek words and that helps explain it. Para means beside, and the cleat means call. So you call somebody beside you. Now if I'm up here and all of a sudden my computer goes off. Wow, okay. Now what am I looking for? I'm looking for a paraclete. I'm looking for a helper. I'm looking, Oliver, can you come up and fix this computer? And no. I, I'm not a helper. I can't do that, see? So I look around until I find a computer experts. And then I call them up here, and the one I call up is going to help me. He's going to fix my problem. That's what a helper is. Somebody that's going to fix your problem. You call to your side so they'll fix your problem. Here are some statements that Thayer has. He said it means a calling near, a summons. Now, a summons is where I say, Steve, come here. I have summoned him. Supplication is where I'm begging, somebody come and help me with this. It's an entreaty or an encouragement or a consolation or a comfort. Now, that word comfort is where most of the older translations use. Great word. It's somebody who will bring you comfort. Because I need my computer fixed, so I'm going to call on somebody who can come up and comfort me by solving my problem at hand. And so it's translated, when the comforter come. And so your King James and New American Standard and so forth will have that, the comfort, a good one. A solace, that which affords comfort. He said, it's one call to one side. So I call somebody up here. One who pleads another's cause. That's an attorney. So if somebody sues me today, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my comforter. I'm going to look for my helper. I'm going to look for somebody who can help me. Now, somebody says, Lowell, I'll help you. Well, do you know the law? No, but I'll help you. Well, you don't qualify. So I've got to go get me an attorney, and that attorney will become my helper because he's going to give me guidance through that. An intercessor, a helper, one who aids, an assistant. Now we can look at this. I think the good thing to do would be use your wife or your husband. And you think, okay, what are they? Well, they're a helper. Well, what do they do? What does my wife do? Well, she provides the help that I need. She provides me comfort when I'm sick. She provides me companionship when I'm lonely. She provides me food when I'm hungry. She provides me, and you get to thinking of what your wife or your spouse does, and it's unending. It's just unending. When a person loses a spouse dies, then all of a sudden your world is turned upside down. And you've heard me talk about what a horrible, just a horrible, unbelievable, indescribable feeling that you have. Why? Why? Because you need a helper. You just can't get through life without that helper there. Now, that your spouse is a helper because it provides those needs. Now then, a lawyer, as we've said. Now all of a sudden somebody sues me today. All of a sudden my wife is not my helper. I have to go uptown and pay somebody and say, will you be my helper? What is a helper? It's somebody that can actually help me get out of this problem that I'm in. If I get sick, I call a doctor. What is a doctor? A doctor is your helper. The doctor is somebody who can analyze and cure. The doctor is your helper. And you call somebody who doesn't know anything about medicines, they don't qualify. A friend may. Just calling a friend. If you need companionship, if you need some advice, anybody who can help you with the problem that you have. A plumber. We don't even want to see them around our house until all of a sudden the pipe starts leaking or the sewer's plugged. And then all of a sudden, they become the most important person in the world. Why? Because they are a helper. So now, he said, I'm going to send you another helper. I'm going to send you somebody who will help you just like I've been helping you for the past 3 years. I've been guiding you and teaching you and supplying all of your needs and all the answers to your problems. And now then I'm getting ready to leave, but I'll send you another helper, comforter, one who can supply your needs. And he'll be another one just like me, just like Jesus. He said, I'll not leave you orphans. Now there, word orphan is used 2 times in the New Testament. One's over in James, caring for orphans. But the word orphan literally means a person bereft of a parent. A person doesn't have a parent. Now, why do we call them orphans? Because they don't have what they need. What does a child need who both parents die? They need a parent. Or if their parents leave them, they need a parent. They are bereft. They're left alone without a parent. That's what an orphan is. They're left alone without somebody who can help them, somebody that is a helper that is needed. Now, Jesus said, I'll not leave you orphans. I'll not leave you bereft of that which you need. I'm going to help you with that. So the way I'm going to help you with that is I'm going to leave you. Then you won't have a helper. Now there's going to be a period of time you don't have a helper. I'm going to be taken away and crucified, and you're going to be alone, and you're going to run away into the night and desert me. You're going to come back to that trial, stand out by that fire, and you're all alone. You don't know what to do. You have no idea. When they charged Peter with knowing Jesus, he denied 3 times because he's ignorant. He doesn't know what to do. He's caught out there. He doesn't want to get hurt. What does he do? He needs help. Well, his helper is up there on the judgment seat being condemned. Jesus is put to death. They don't have a helper. The day after Jesus died, they don't have a helper. They wait around and they give up. Why? Because they don't have a helper. They don't have somebody to give them guidance. He said, but I'll not leave you that way. There'll be a period of time when you will be orphans. But I'll not leave you orphans. I'll provide another helper. So we close this class then today by saying this, that here we have Jesus giving them this terribly bad news. How that it just crushes their world. And I'm leaving, and you'll be left alone. You're going to be scattered. You're going to run. You're going to be afraid. You're not going to know what to do. But I'm going to supply your needs. I will send you another helper. I'll send you another divine being who will help you. He will provide all of your needs. And next week, we can see some of these needs he's going to provide. Okay, class dismissed.